Welcome to Unlimited Parenting, where we discuss everything related to having children with disabilities or special healthcare needs. Today, we're going to try something a little different. We have all gathered here today, myself, Allison, Melissa, and iPull's newest employee, Katie.
Yay.
We have all gathered here today with a topic, one topic, and we are going to discuss it and then see if it's tangentially related to disabilities or just see where it takes us. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the conversation. I'm going to go first.
Okay.
My topic is the dentist. Because you're already laughing at me.
I'm just scared already.
Why?
Because you know I have a fear of dentists.
It's a scary place.
It's terrifying. So my lip is sweating
Sorry, I was
already.
trying to drown your voice out. I'm just kidding. Okay.
Duly noted.
I went to the dentist this morning and it was awful. I'm sure dentists are great, like on their off time, and they're just normal humans who bowl or golf or
Golf, absolutely.
whatever.
Dude.
But why are they Satan?
I have a hard time with somebody who's like, what if we went to school to learn how to scratch on people's bones? Like, it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's disgusting. And they do it
Never
on
thought
purpose.
about it like that, but
I want to know. This is what I want to know. When you go to dental school, do you have to take a class to understand what the heck I'm saying? When you have all those tools in your mouth and you're like, are you going to work today? I'm like, I work out. And like, do you does this hurt? Ah!
It almost seems
like a translation class.
Exactly.
I don't know.
It seems like that should be a checkbox. Like, you know, when you get a massage and they're like, do you want to be chatty or do you want to just sleep? Like, maybe I don't want to talk while your hands are in my
that's
mouth.
genius.
That is. That's really smart.
Are
on
you
my
going to pitch
insurance
that to the
forms?
dentist?
Yeah,
to the dental school?
That needs to be
Cash
on the
card,
feedback form.
do you want to talk or not?
Have you ever been outside of like a library and they're
No.
trying to get signatures?
Me? A library. No. Just kidding. I was in a library today.
So a library is short for the Latin word librarius. I don't know if that's true. But
Bibliotech.
yeah, biblioteca. Your one Spanish word. Good for you.
It was French.
Biblioteca is
I didn't
Spanish.
say I said bibliothèque.
Oh my gosh, three languages in one.
Okay. Yeah, this is a multilingual podcast. Sorry.
Okay, you're outside of a library or wherever you find yourself. I don't know, an Aeropostale. I don't know. And they're collecting signatures. You know, and they're like, "Do you support
At the fair.
this?"
Sorry.
While you're petting,
Yeah.
while
the
you're
goats.
petting a billy goat, and they're, do you support Idaho's the horse racing in Garden City? Where was
Do we support?
I think you would
Check
like
box
to see
on
it.
Okay,
A
that's where
petition
I want you
to stand
to start
outside
your
the library.
petition for the checkbox at the
Yes.
dentist.
My name is Katie, and I don't want you to talk to me at the dentist. Just sign here.
Why add the qualifier of the dentist? My name is
I don't
Katie,
want
and I
you to
don't
talk
want you
to
to
me.
talk to me.
I was just thinking that might be universal because, like, when I go to, when you sit next to me on the airplane, unless I know you, don't talk
I'm
to
like,
me.
I want that dog collar. Like, okay. I'm like, okay.
Whoa.
That's not this
Wrong
podcast.
podcast.
That's not this podcast.
I pull after dark. I want I want a sign on me. Like, don't talk to me. I'm not friendly. You know, like those training dogs is what I was trying to say. They like have a sign like,
Okay. I got where you're-
don't touch me. I'm not okay.
Non-friendly, aggressive.
I'm on duty. Please don't bother me. I'm on duty. I'm working.
This wildly went off course.
That's what happens in these
Oh my
podcasts.
gosh. But yeah, don't talk to me. Sign here.
So
I do. I think it could be universal. And I'm not a not social person. There are just times where, like, seriously, I'm done.
but do you know what you're not? A
What?
dentist person.
I know that for a fact.
You are not a dentist person. Do you
That is
do you
correct.
want to describe why You just hate the dentist because of a past experience, right?
I can describe why, because it was unbelievably traumatizing.
Again, dentists, probably great people. But for some reason, Damien has been my dentist in the past.
My dentist, I single-handedly helped create a new policy in our dentist because, let me tell you why. My maiden name was Smith. When I went to get my x-rays for my wisdom teeth, they told me I have 2 wisdom teeth. I listened to that. I took that to heart. I knew I had just 2. I had 2 on the top. I knew that I had 2 going into the oral surgeon, who then told me these x-rays show 4 wisdom teeth. And I was like, I have 2. And my mom said to me as a 16-year-old, don't argue with the dentist. And I continued to argue and push back that I had 2. I knew I had 2. The dentist sent the x-rays for another Melissa Smith, who had 4 wisdom teeth. The oral surgeon dug around looking for 2 wisdom teeth that didn't exist. Then they got infected. Then I couldn't open my mouth for 2 weeks. It was a horrible experience. So I hate the dentist. And when I say I hate the dentist, I loathe the dentist. Like the Grinch.
That was the best Jim Carrey impression.
Entirely.
I can't.
Dinner
I'm
with
terrified.
me. I can't cancel that again.
I am terrified of the dentist. Like sweating, like my lip is sweating right now. I'm very terrified of the dentist.
I know the humidity in here just changed. It feels like a rainforest cafe.
I have like secondhand anxiety for you.
Thank you.
No,
so when
terrifying.
you said you were going to dentist was going to be your topic, I had a little internal struggle. But
Great guy.
yeah,
My dentist is a man. He's a great guy. I'm sure
they're
he has
decent.
lots of fun. You know, he looks like he's a world traveler.
He's
One of the
drilling
pictures
into
and
people's teeth, and he's getting paid for it. It almost seems like morally,
I know,
ethically,
right?
somehow there's got to be he
How-
paid money to learn how to drill into my face.
how do you look at someone in their soul and say, that tooth right there, I'm going to pull it out. And then I'm going to have to do a root canal. And he's just like smiling. How do you eat lunch after that?
Have you ever shove those metal things like between there, and they're like, just close your mouth gently, and it's like jabbing into my face like a wayward Cap'n Crunch. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And they do it for fun, I'm sure.
Like one of the Juanitas gets broken off and lodged into your tooth.
That is exactly what I'm saying. And he's like, no, just shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth again. Just keep it. Don't move. And I'm going to jam it into your gums.
I want to know, like the smell. Like, does that smell when they are drilling into a tooth?
It's gotta.
It's got to smell like burning hair, right?
It doesn't bother me, but I will tell you, when they were recently working on my middle child's tooth, and they had to like do some sealant and stuff, it must have made a weird smell because my middle child went, "Ew, Mom," and I said, "I, sir, did not pass gas."
He called you out.
Yeah,
in the
he
dentist.
called. Ew, Mom. I'm like, "Sir, that's
man.
the smell of your tooth."
Oh,
And
okay. So the
that-
answer is yes.
That panicked too.
I'm with
I
him.
should have just taken the fall for that.
No.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Just slipped.
Maybe that helps him brush, though. He's like, my tooth smelled like my mom's fart. I have to.
There-
Like, he has to come back from that. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot to take in.
That is a lot for a little guy.
For,
is a lot.
for a big guy.
Yeah.
My child has gone to the dentist more times in the last 6 months than I have in the last 10 years. That is how much I hate. I just dislike that.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we're talking about a child with a disability, so he has some extra steps.
Sure.
Now, like his mom, I go to the sedated. Oh, great. Now you guys are all going to know where I go to the dentist. I went to the
there's
sedated
multiple.
dentistry, and I'm like, he's like, "So you want to be sedated?" And I said, "Sir, I want you to question whether or not I'm alive still.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want to be sedated. I want to
Is
be
there
like,
a mirror? Is she
knock,
breathing?
knock, knocking on heaven's door. Like, I want you to
So-
wonder."
So you have to have a ride home.
Okay, they're so serious about it. I love it. I really do love it for them, but they're like, you can't leave the property. So my husband has to sit there and wait the entire time. If they like see him go for the door,
Oh no.
they like
Tackle
I
him.
imagine like shooting him with a Nerf gun. Get back, sir, back! Because they're so worried that
you'll
someone's
leave.
just gonna ditch. I'm like,
could see it.
so what happens if you don't have a ride? Is that like a barrier? Do you have to call like a Uber?
Yeah. Because then the person has to take care of you.
Coming off of you're being under like that, coming off of anesthesia in the back of an Uber.
Yeah.
Can you even imagine being that Uber driver right now?
My poor aunt lives by herself, and she had to take an Uber home from her colonoscopy. Isn't that sad? I know, that broke my heart. I was like,
Melissa,
I should have.
The stories you're bringing to the table today are just
I know.
Flow up there. I should have flow up there.
I should have flow up there and helped her out.
Okay.
But
sorry,
it
I'm
reminds me what you just said isn't that like the beginning of The Walking Dead where the guy Rick Grimes like goes in for a surgery or something and he wakes up and there's zombies everywhere and he'd been like in a mild coma or something and the world had like gone on without him. I'm not scared of that.
That's a full-blown new fear on that.
I'm not scared of that. What I'm scared of is these people who tell stories about like being under for a surgery.
Yes,
and they
I want
are
that for you.
aware.
No, I don't want that for you. I'm so sorry.
No,
I don't want that.
You take that back.
No, I tell you what I want from you is I want, when you come off of your sedation, I want your husband to video it because I think it probably would be hilarious.
He said that last time this happened and I was sedated. I was trying to get out of the car on the freeway.
Oh, child lock.
Because through some weird circumstance, there was an accident on the freeway that day. So he's driving me home from the dentist and everyone's at a stop on the freeway. And I was like, I'll just walk home. And I tried to open the door and my husband's like, he had to put on the flashers. And he's like, get out of the car! Get back in this car!
The patience on this man.
Oh, well, yes.
You just gotta love him.
And I'm like, listen, you're the idiot for staying in the gridlock.
In the marriage? Oh, okay. I'm just kidding.
That's it.
I'm kidding.
You see that little foam piece that's falling off the wall? I'm going to put it over your mouth.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can he have my phone number
for future research?
For future dentist trips?
One of my children will put it on Snapchat.
Perfect.
I'm sure of it.
I am too.
I'm absolutely sure of it.
Okay. I do have one thing I want to say about this, and it's completely off topic, but not really. Do you find now as parents, I don't know what your experience was going to the dentist as a child, but like to this day.
In the 80s?
Yeah.
It was wild.
I just feel like right now there's still this element of like I'm in trouble when I go to the dentist. Like if I have a cavity as an adult, I'm like don't tell mom. And I'm like, I'm a 30-year-old woman. I don't need to.
You know what? I totally see that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
and I
talking
think that
about?
it's valid. But today I got the opposite of that because they were like, you haven't been to the dentist in 10 years.
That's a real thing.
We expected you to come in with like some fish hooks as teeth. And we expected to have to remove so many of these. But you only have 4 cavities and need 1 crown.
My most recent experience was literally my 10-year high school reunion was in the same month as the first time I'd gone to the dentist, like by myself and an adult. Like I had never.
Did you journal about it?
I
Because you were ready to call those memories up real quick.
I was just laughing about it because it's like, I realized that once I was out of the like home where my parents were like, hey, let's be like a reasonable person and go to the doctor. And
After they let you out of the cage.
After they released me into the wild. I didn't like transfer that I should keep going. Like I still had insurance. I just
Here
didn't.
at iPole, we call that transition to adulthood. After they let me out of the home.
Yeah. Anyway.
I pushed the button in the sound. It's a little delayed. I was like, there should be a sound here.
Just my laughter. Anyway, I just think it's funny. And then now as a parent, like if my kids have cavities, I'm like, okay, I can't make them feel like they're in trouble because I want them to keep going to the dentist.
Right.
Yeah. I always felt like I was in trouble.
I'm in trouble. Yes.
I mean, the 80s were pretty wild in terms of dentistry. Like we would get cavities filled without anything.
I was just thinking about that. The steps that they take, like they drizzle the numbing and then they do the shot.
Yes.
And they really take it so slow. I just remember going in there and my mom would hold my hands down and the dentist would just do it real quick.
Well,
and
they must be pumping something in those dentist schools because the nicest people on the
you mean
earth,
like R&B? Like they're pumping R&B?
Something because the nurses are always these like the perkiest women who are so kind. They're so nice. Like when they scrape your teeth and they clean it all up for doc and then the dentist actually comes in and does what he's supposed to do. But like it's those first women that are always like
Do you ever wonder how many Red
peppiest
Bulls
people.
it takes for
They
them
have
to get to work?
They've got to be mainlining it, make mainstream, full on.
They do scream. I mean, how stereotypical
those
are we being?
customer service people.
They're so good to
Yeah.
me. Every time I just want to be their friend. Every time.
It
Well,
does.
it's
It makes
working
it's
then.
very
It's
hospitable.
working. Oh
that
my
was
God,
not the
yeah.
experience
They're
when
the
I
best.
was a child.
Oh no, when I was
No.
a child either. I'm telling you, it was a like parent lay on
Yep.
top of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally,
Straight check it.
the dentist that I went to as a child in the 80s was called the Oregon Trail dentist. And let's
Did you
just
die of
say,
dysentery? What's the...
well, I was concerned that they might not have even washed their dental tools in between patients.
He just like put it in the dishwasher and was like, it'll be fine.
They were like, oh, there's another 8-year-old coming in after you. You probably have the same germs. There's only one elementary school, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine.
Come to the dentist. Same germs, same lice. Just get it all in one spot.
Lice. You can get lice at the dentist?
I don't know. It just felt right.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you could.
It's a place of
Leaning
horrors.
back in the chair.
Yeah. But I knew someone that got it in movie theater.
Oh,
Right?
Oh, that's a new fear unlocked.
Can
Also,
you
I have
imagine
two
you're
new
just
fears on
watching
my-
Interstellar
It's only
and
been
your
half an
head
hour.
just starts itching?
Interstellar. Why
my
is that the
gosh.
movie you picked?
I love, who is that man?
Matthew McConaughey?
No.
Matt
Well,
Damon?
all right. I do love him too.
Who's
But
in Interstellar?
the man, Hans. Sorry.
So
Not Hans Solo. Hans Zimmerman?
Oh,
Who is the man who writes
Oh,
the music?
Yes,
That
Christian
song.
Hans Zimmerman.
Okay, listen, that sounded like your dentures just slipped. Maybe go
You
to,
went
the
to the dentist, but my mouth has clearly been numbed. I cannot
Christian Hans.
speak. Hans Christian. Yeah, Zimmerman.
I believe you guys. I don't know who
He's
you're talking
amazing.
about.
The song Cornfield Chase. Have you ever heard it?
Well, you just
You've
went for
really
deep
not
tracks.
heard it? Oh my God.
To all of our listeners, we just want to thank our
I'm so
dentist and
sorry.
encourage you to listen to the song Cornfield Chase.
I will play it for you later. I wish I could play
I'm
it right
sure
now.
I've heard it.
The computer isn't connected. It's so
Envisioned
beautiful.
a woman running
That's exactly what happens. They're in a truck.
being chased.
They're not being chased. Have you never seen Interstellar?
I've never seen Interstellar.
Oh my God,
Moral
you're
of the
missing out.
story.
It is.
How
it made me
amusing!
cry.
You never watch movies.
I know. That's why
And
it's
you've
the only
seen that
movie I
one?
can talk about potentially getting lice at the movie theater.
Okay, I've seen all
Can
of these
you
other random
imagine?
movies, and you have seen Interstellar.
Can you imagine you're at the movie theater and you're listening to the Cornfield Chase by Zimmerman or whoever he is?
Christian Zimmerman.
I have something that I want to say that's going to bring it back around. The last time I went to a movie with my husband on a date, we were watching. Oh, what's that movie with moon landing? Like Matt Damon, and he's on the
Is that
Mars.
Martian?
Mars.
Oh yeah, he's
Martian.
growing the potatoes or
Okay,
whatever.
Yes. So two funny things from that. I was eating popcorn and I broke my tooth. Still broken.
Dentist.
That was a long time ago. 'cause
You're
I
like,
was in the
wow,
movie.
that popcorn kernel was burnt.
Second thing that happened in that movie, the girls behind us were like, "Is this a true story?" And my husband
Can I tell you?
I almost lost it in the movie theater.
You remember that? You remember that movie, Benjamin Button?
No.
So did my dad.
I thought it was real. I was like, oh my God, can that really happen?
Oh my gosh.
If it makes you feel better, my dad thought that too, Allison.
But you know what? That was the same day that I found out
Santa Claus wasn't real.
that a hot sauce doesn't reduce calories when you put it on things.
You thought that happened?
What was the thought process like? We're
Listen-
sweating out calories? 'cause of
Listen,
the hot
common
sauce?
sense was really hard to come by at the Oregon Trail dentistry.
Oh my gosh.
And I have none. I have absolutely none. So yes, I thought Benjamin Button could have been real. I was like, what? When did that movie come out?
I don't think I even watched it.
I think I was like 14 or 15. Too old to be that silly.
Silly.
Right? I'm like, is Benjamin Button real? Do you think that could really happen?
Well, then you might have been the girl in The Martian in the movie theater behind me.
Behind her?
It was so funny. I have never oh, it was so funny.
Did you say yes? That,
No,
that
we
it's
just
like the
laughed
Blair
at him.
Witch. It was like the Blair Witch documentary.
No,
This is actually real life footage from Mars right now.
Right? He's up there.
streaming.
That's astronaut Matthew Damon Damon. There's like a D at the end.
Damon.
Okay.
Anyways,
Okay. Dennis.
I digressed.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Melissa, what's your topic?
I don't.
Yeah, follow that act, Melissa. Bring it to the table.
Fruit.
Whip it out.
Well, no, I was.
No, okay, keep it. Okay,
What is
don't.
up with me today?
Keep
Oh,
it.
goodness.
So I was gonna talk about.
Sorry.
I was gonna talk about siblings and how.
Do you think those two girls behind you in the movie theater were
we're
siblings?
It might have been. Do siblings go to the dentist together? No.
I think they do because their parents want to be in outdone.
I
They don't want to
agree.
be coming back for another visit.
And whenever I take my kids like that, though, they fight over who goes first, right? And I
Really?
just end up shoving one back. Yeah.
Like they want to go.
No, they don't want to go. No. So they're fighting about who goes back. And so then they send their brother, they send Reese as like the scapegoat because
Okay.
And he's like, whatever, I'm down for
remember.
anything.
Yeah, he's down
This
for
is like
anything.
a Katie deep track. I'm religious, and growing up, we had moved to a new place, and as like a welcome to the church, we all had to give a talk
Oh.
in front of the whole
Like a
church.
TED Talk?
Like a TED Talk, only not at all. No, just
Like, how old were you?
we were little. Like we were little,
Okay.
and like I want to say I was in maybe middle school, but like if the very least, like I think I was younger than that significantly, but I'm the oldest, and so like mine had like the most bearing. And so my thing is I'm like, I want to go first, I want to get it done, but I had a couple little siblings and they were like, no, Katie, you're gonna go last. And so the whole time, so they got to go, and it was just like, hi, I'm Katie and this is who I am, and okay, goodbye.
Oh, you were at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
Basically. But
Similar.
they went, and the whole time I am just on the stand in front of the whole church sobbing. And you can just see, because I'm like, I just want to go first. And I'm just so scared. And my
no.
siblings got to go first.
I'm so sorry. If I would have known, I would have let you present your topic first. I'm
No,
so sorry.
I've come a
could've-
long way.
I could have healed
You can feel
childhood
some
trauma.
inner trauma. But no, it was
Yeah.
just really funny. Looking back now, obviously I survived. I survived my
You
talk.
did.
Everything was fine. It was
What was
literally.
it about, though?
I
Yeah, what'd
don't-
you talk about?
I couldn't
Oh, you
even
don't
tell you
remember.
to
Was it
this
about
day.
Benjamin Button?
It was about this man who grew in reverse.
Weirder. Maybe it's an ultra rare and it hasn't been discovered. Or I bet if I would have had a sibling, they would have discovered it. How many siblings do you have? You've got two? You don't really know, do you? I mean, like, you know you have
No, I
one,
know. I have one.
but you could.
So are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm the oldest. And that's kind of what? Why are you looking at me like you're surprised?
I really thought that B-dubs,
Was older than me?
for some reason.
Really? I'm so down with that.
But you know,
He
that makes
looks
sense
old,
because
huh?
he's 38.
Yeah.
He looks old.
He looks old. He looks
38.
way older than
So
I do.
old.
Yeah. No, I'm the oldest because I'm way more mature than he is.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. You
No,
were
and
you
conceived on a
weren't
carnival
mocking
cruise.
teenagers.
So
No,
you're
it was
older.
Las Vegas.
Oh.
Why do I know that?
That's
You should never tell your children
Sorry.
that, by the way.
Yeah, what?
No, thanks. My parents. told me.
What?
So one funny thing, and I won't. My daughter is named after a city, and people always ask me, "Is that where she was conceived?" And I never thought that.
why would you?
Why is
ask
that
Why would you
the
ask
first-
someone?
that?
Right? Would you?
That's atrocious.
Would you ever ask
I
someone
would
that?
never.
I cannot tell you the amount of people that have asked me that.
That's insane.
Do you say
that
it's
weird?
because I love eating at my father's place?
No, I don't.
You're lucky she wasn't named my father's.
So many people will not understand that. if you're not from Idaho.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
So I've always just thought that was very strange to be asked that.
Yeah, I can't imagine asking a stranger.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
No, I just I was thinking about siblings, and the reason I was thinking about siblings is because why it kind of brought up is because this weekend is the first time that I have an adult child who is going to take care of her younger brother who has some significant disabilities this weekend so that her dad and I can go out of town for the first time. So the siblings are in charge. It has
Weekend at Bernie's.
it's right.
Gosh, I hope not.
It has me feeling all the feels. Like I can't believe that I have an adult daughter that can take care of her younger brother. Can't believe that we get a vacation. But I also was thinking of in context of I don't want this to feel like she has to do this. Does that make sense? I don't want her to feel like it's required and that
Like
we are making her do it or
What's that? My sister's keeper.
yes,
Kind of a thing.
I don't want that for my kids.
Right.
I don't want that. And so Well, after this weekend, she cannot do it if she doesn't want to, but just kidding. She has to do it this weekend. No, I'm just saying I always want it to be an option for my kids.
But I also think it's important for you to include that she's being paid.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. She's not.
But it's also part of her job, right? Because she's his CSW.
She is his CSW, and
Community
she will be
support worker.
And she will be compensated for her time because absolutely, she's not doing she is doing some of it out of the goodness of her heart, but she will be compensated.
But just not all of it.
But I guess that the reason I was like, I'm gonna talk about siblings because I just don't want it to be just because I have 4 kids, one of them whom is disabled. I don't want it to be that their siblings have to take care of them. Does that make sense?
That's a real thing.
And that's something that we think about a lot in our life is what's going to happen when dad and I are gone and what does that look like for responsibility. And I know that they'll probably be his guardian and assume some responsibility, but I don't want it to have to be their job. They didn't sign up for it. This is Debbie Downer.
It's not. It's not Debbie Downer, but I'm just thinking of all the times that I had to watch my younger brother without getting paid.
And you're
not really.
Your younger brother's just. That was just what siblings do, right? You're just in a typical sibling relationship.
And I mean, we got money.
Yeah, we got allowance, right? It's part of I guess. Is it?
But you don't
part
want
of your family?
I have some friends who work really hard to make sure that their oldest, it's not the oldest child who chose to have more babies.
Yes.
It's not their responsibility to go get the diaper and they do a really great job of hey, you're not, because it's also you get that oldest mentality and that middle mentality and that youngest mentality. Oldest always thinks they're in control and in charge and all that stuff. But I think I hear what you're saying where it's not, you don't want to force it on her as the oldest to come in be the parent.
Right? I don't want it to be like a Duggar family where you're assigned a child and you're
oh my God, that's right. They do that.
They do. And I would never want that.
Except for the first 2 years, because then that child is assigned to Michelle.
Yes.
I remember reading that.
I remember reading that.
And I mean, no shade. If that's your religion, we're not trying to shame your religion. We're just saying.
I want my
2 years. That seems like a long time. I would be like, bye.
Bye. Can one of you kids come grab this kid? No, I'm just kidding.
When I saw their laundry room, though, they had 4 or 5 washers, which makes sense. Their family is so huge. But I was like, I want 4 or 5 washing machines.
I would love that.
Even if I just had 2.
Me too.
That would be amazing.
And 2 dishwashers.
Oh, the
My
dishwashers.
Mom has 2 ovens. And holy game changer. That's all I want in my life is to have 2 ovens. Cause
really? I could do without the oven. I would want the dishwasher.
That's very Hansel and Gretel of you.
Well, I like to cook.
You do.
I like to eat.
I like to eat. I like when
just
people
being
cook.
Clear.
Yeah. Fair.
She whips it, especially at Christmas. She has things going in every single space. She's got crock pots and roasters and both ovens and the stove, and it's
efficiency.
It's full blown heaven, right?
That's
there.
If I won the lottery, that's what I would do. I would do 2 ovens,
pay someone to do
2
that.
Well, I have someone that does that for me. It's called my husband. But I would want. Yeah. I would buy all the appliances.
Yes.
And a freestyle Coke machine, if we're being honest.
A freestyle Coke machine?
You know, when you go to
Wendy's and you have the whole big thing?
I want
Could
it all.
one just purchase that? Could we look
into
that?
I've looked it up.
Seriously.
Stop it right now.
I've looked it up.
The way that I would do that right now.
Oh, yeah, I've looked it up. It's $10,000 for the initial investment.
You've got
$10,000.
You've got your ice. You're you do it with the fancy ice.
You
could do it with your...
And then you have to get all the syrups. So,
but you could probably, I bet at that point,
all the syrups. You only want one.
I only want one, but I want the freestyle so that everyone that comes to my house has an option. But I just want the one option, and don't you dare take it from me.
This is
my cherry Coke Zero.
Did you guys see Big back in the day?
Yes, I love Big. We watched it a couple days ago.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's kind of giving me that vibe. That was.
I just remember him on the giant piano.
Yes, and the trampoline in his house.
So yeah, what's your topic? Are we done with?
Do you feel done with siblings?
I was done when, stick a fork in it. I don't like bringing topics to this podcast.
We should in the future just get a bowl and we could just pull out random topics to discuss.
Kind of fun.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, I'll collect some for you.
Okay.
I'll poll our listeners.
I don't know if I can just do it on the fly. Well, I guess we are doing this on the fly, so.
Yep.
We'll see how this turns out.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Katie.
Yikes.
Katie, newest iPool employee.
Yes, welcome to the
Katie,
iPool
Thank you.
family, by the way.
How long have you been here? On Earth.
On Earth.
I mean, at Idaho Parents Unlimited, sorry.
My goodness. I think I kind of started around Halloween when I was the only one who dressed up for the occasion.
Was Halloween 3 months ago?
October, November,
Holy-
December, January. So
You
maybe 4
skipped
months.
She was
I'm like, oh my God, she skipped counting.
Well, I think maybe 4 months. I don't know.
But wait,
It's been
I
a
want
little
to go.
bit.
I think she's mad we didn't dress up. That's what I'm
No,
feeling.
Well, I will always dress up because that's who I am. But
did I?
I know I wore spooky earrings.
I think you
I'm
did.
sure you did.
I
I
really
I think
missed
I wore a
opportunity to
pumpkin
not
shirt.
dress up as a
I
dentist.
wore an overall dress that had spooky things on it, and it was fun.
Why have I blacked out Halloween?
It's your favorite.
It's my favorite holiday, and I cannot. Oh, yeah, this was the year they had the blow up costumes, and they walked in their
Oh,
blow up
that's
costumes for
right.
like 2 houses, and then
That's
they were like,
right.
these are party knives.
Oh, that's bummer.
Anyway, sorry. Well,
Her kids all had like blow up costumes
Yes.
that had like the fans in them.
Yes.
And
my kids all have disabilities.
it
I'm not
didn't go
laughing.
well.
That's not what I mean. I mean, I do mean they all have disabilities. I don't know why I laughed, but the sensory of it and the
Just was a lot.
scrunchy part on the ankles and the
happened.
wrists. And then
just
one
wasn't thought
kid,
through.
one of my children is so small, and he had the biggest blow-up costume. He was one of those little Among Us characters.
gosh.
And so it was like pulling him backward. And at one point, I thought he was going to fly away.
It was windy that night.
It was windy.
Like,
I was in my
really was.
skirt. I had to put shorts on underneath because I was gonna trick or treat some kid.
Okay. Trick or treat.
This trick was trauma.
I said treat. Okay.
Well, so I was just thinking, like, my topic is a little also kind of a Debbie Downer, but I was thinking just being the new girl, especially in an office where I don't have any kiddos with disabilities.
Have you been like,
I don't have.
have we scared you like beyond belief?
So-
Like now I feel really bad sometimes
No.
the stories that I tell.
I don't think that you've scared me. I think that sometimes, like, I don't know what to say.
Sure. That
And-
makes sense.
Like,
Oftentimes, neither do we.
I
Yeah.
just
That's
fair because
Yeah.
I've definitely, like, especially if there's like stories or like when I come in and I've had a rough night with my kiddos versus when somebody else comes in with a rough night with their kiddos. Like, sometimes I feel like there's just this weird line where like everybody's life is so much harder than mine is, and so maybe I shouldn't be like my worries or concerns are not near some of the other worries and concerns in the office.
okay.
You know what I mean?
I know what
Yeah,
you
but they're
mean,
still
but-
equal and valid.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. And everyone here has been super kind. I haven't gotten, I just find that like I just tend to, I find myself kind of walking on eggshells sometimes where I'm like, well, I'll just not say anything because I don't want to, I just would not want to say anything that was inappropriate or that I didn't know was maybe bad. Or also I didn't want to start complaining about my very easy
We'll
life.
tell you.
And then, yeah, that would be mortifying.
Yeah, but
I'd be like, oh my gosh.
I wouldn't
made
tell you like
Melissa
that. I'd be like,
upset.
oh my God.
Can you believe
what
that Katie said that?
Absolutely not.
look at
No.
her body.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Gosh.
I
Like, my kiddo got an award recently, and I almost was just like, I put it on the calendar that I needed to leave early, and I almost just said I need to leave early versus like,
Oh,
at
no.
school. Because it's like, it's different.
I
you
know, but that was she got an award
got-
for kindness.
Yes. And I was so proud of her, but I didn't want to like take away from any of
you're
the other,
not.
you know, but like it's
Oh, yeah.
different
No, I
when
get you.
you're the only one. I don't like
I get
some
you.
of the wording around it, but when you're the only one without disabilities, it's just you guys are living in a different world,
But
and
see,
I will never be able to understand it.
I think that we just all have different baselines.
Yeah,
Right?
that's fair.
I can see that.
It's hard for me when like Melissa and Sarah talk about like the medical complexity of their children, you know, like
Yep.
G-tubes and specialists
Yeah.
after specialists and
Seizures
braces
and like that.
and surgeries.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. Versus like when I come in and I tell like mental health stories or like severe aggressive behavior stories. And I'm like, oh, it's just another Tuesday night.
It's just
And then they're like, I don't know how you do it. So I think we just all have different baselines for what is and is not normal.
Yeah.
And then we all get very acclimated and used to that. So then when it goes above and beyond that, we're like, oh my God, the house is burning down. But then my version of the house is burning down, like level 1, call the police, would be different than yours because you just have a different baseline, right?
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So like, you know, Melissa coming in one morning and being like, well, so-and-so pulled out their G-tube, so I had to make sure I shoved it in real fast or else we would have had to have gone back and they would have had to have done surgery. So sorry, I'm 10 minutes late. And I'm like, oh.
To put in even
my
a
God.
That's the most Melissa thing too. Sorry, I'm late. We had to,
But that's like no big deal.
But that's what we do because I'll run into our executive director's office and I'll be like, oh, gotta go. So-and-so tried to strangle a kid today. And everyone's just like, yeah, goodbye. Have a great day. Like, it's just so normal because our baseline is so...
You're right. It is baseline.
So I can understand how a new person would come into this environment and be like, I would cry for a week
it's just,
if that ever happened to me. And you're
so
just
much.
like flippant about it. Like, oh, I gotta go. My kid has behaviors or whatever. So,
well, I think there's also like, sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, go on.
It's super difficult on the outside. So I think we can acknowledge that you guys have, it's a different world. There's different acronyms, there's different expectations, there's different.
For sure.
There's just a lot going on that we're having conversations, but I'm not quite there yet. But outside of that, what was I gonna say?
I'll say this, though, while you're thinking about what you were going to say. When I first started working here, even as a parent of multiple children with disabilities who had existed in the world, I would come into work and people would have conversations, and then I would have to go back to Melissa later and then have another conversation about the conversation. Yeah. She said this name or this acronym, and I don't have any idea what just happened. So even for me, as someone who was already here, was still really, and I've been here almost 2 years, and there are still times when I'm like, can we circle back to what?
Yeah. Like yesterday.
What's a McPhee?
You're like, what's this partnership? Yeah. Exactly. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know how to orate this apparently. As a mom of children, it's super important to me that we are kind and we're acknowledging and accepting and, you know, it's just people are people and there's all kinds of kinds. Someone I worked with used to say that there's all kinds of kinds, and that was just how she taught her kiddos. But I find it super difficult because I don't feel like there's any one way to, one, be disabled, two, teach your kids about disability.
Right.
They're so hard. I've gotten mixed reviews of me being encouraged to ask questions because it's so interesting, it's so fun or important for parents of kids with disabilities or the children themselves to be able to communicate their needs and their differences to my kids. But I've also gotten told that it's not the parent's responsibility to educate me on the things I'm doing wrong. So it's so difficult to just try
and
to...
how are you supposed to write their minds?
I didn't even know that disability existed. Like, it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I Google that when I don't know? So it's just so, there's just eggshells.
I'm going to say something controversial.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Is there a sound for that? Dun, dun, dun.
No, it's just the sound of my voice because everything I say is
accelerated
controversial.
heart rate is...
My sweaty lip.
Okay, so here... I don't know if you or any of the listeners out there have heard of this thing called TikTok. Well, there's a meme or a talk or a tick or whatever. I don't know. Whatever we call it.
Talk.
Where there is, it's Jack Nicholson from The Shining, and he's just kind of zoning out. And it's like my toddler when they see an individual with a disability on a bus.
Yes.
And I just want to point something out. I think that that's what toddlers do all the time when they see something new.
Anything new.
I wish that people might pause just a second before they say, your kid is staring at my kid or something like that, and think that, you know, this toddler may have never seen an individual with a disability before. It's so new to them, and they are not trying to be rude. They're trying to figure out the same thing they figure out when they're navigating their world all the time. How am I different How am I different from this person? And it looks like this.
Right.
Staring.
It looks awkward.
Staring into their soul. And you're like, do I have something on my face? Is there something on my teeth?
The way that my child stared at a curly-headed, red-haired woman for the first time, she'd never seen red hair, is the exact same way she stared at the man with one arm.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it
I
was
wish
like she just was
people
trying
would-
to understand what she was seeing.
Exactly. And I mean, I guess on the other side, and I won't speak for you, but on the other side of that, what I experience a lot is my children have what is lovingly referred to as an invisible disability. So they don't look outwardly disabled. So when they have big behaviors, everyone's like, why don't you just discipline your kids?
What's wrong with your
And
kid?
I'm like, that's
Or you've got my
not
7-year-old
how
asking,
this works.
how come he gets to act like that?
Exactly.
It's just this child trying to understand the behavior.
I think if I was at the grocery store and my oldest was pulling a move and someone's kid said, why does he get to act like that? I think literally what I would say is, well, I wish he wouldn't.
Absolutely.
I think that,
yeah.
I mean, like, if you
Try to.
if you want to teach him how to not, like, we're
Good luck.
actively paying people with PhDs to
And this
assist
is
us
like-
in that.
That's
So-
a real pain, and I'm the mom of the kid asking. Like,
I'm
so
never angry at a kid, though.
there's that's true.
Never.
I would hope not.
I think if a kid genuinely came up to me and said, what's wrong with him?
Uh-huh.
I would be like, a whole lot of things. How
Does
much
that
time do you
happen?
have?
Because that happens to me.
I think it's happened to my middle child before when he was stimming really,
Okay.
really, really hard and quickly. And they were like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Like, out of concern.
Sure.
But I know that your family has a really
That happens a
tangible,
lot.
teachable story, though.
'Cause
That's
is
so
Yeah.
good.
Or you don't have an invisible disability.
No,
It's
it's visible.
right there.
Yeah. I mean, Reese doesn't look, I guess if you looked at Reese, if you just looked at him. But if you then started talking to him, he's nonverbal. He's got, he's screeches and loud, and his gait is off, so he's kind of wobbly, but he can walk, he's mobile, he can walk and run, and he might have a seizure, but no big deal.
No big deal.
But
See, exactly. No big deal. And I'm like, oh my God.
right. And that's just it. Seizures are it is a Tuesday. I mean, we are at a point where hundreds of seizures a day were normal for us. Now, luckily, knock on wood.
The Lego story.
Oh, thank you. You
You're
got me
welcome.
back. So people will come up to us and say, what's wrong with him? Especially like if we're on a playground, and he's 14 now. So it's becoming more and more apparent that he is not like another 14-year-old. And he's nonverbal. He doesn't talk, but my husband has whatever compelled him very, very early on to describe it to kids. I think it's because he's a perpetual child himself. We were at a park one day. My son has a chromosomal deletion. And we were at a park and someone said, what's wrong with him? Why doesn't he talk? And my husband said, do you play Legos? And the kid stopped and said, yeah. And then it was funny because I could see more kids like starting to surround my husband listening to this story. And it was, do you play Legos? Well, yeah, of course we play Legos. Well, on each Lego, there's that little teeny little top on each Lego. And if that piece is missing, another Lego won't hook to it. And inside of our bodies are chromosomes and DNA, and they're kind of like Legos. They're building blocks that make us all who we are. And all of our DNA and Legos look a little bit different. And Reese's just happens to be missing just a little teeny, teeny, tiny piece of a Lego. And it has impacted his life in that way, but he can still play and he can still, do all of the things. He just communicates a little bit different. He just does things a little bit differently. So I love it when kids ask, what's wrong with him? Or if I see a 2-year-old staring, I'll be like, Reese, can you say hi? Or, really try to bring him in. Yeah. If parents, I often will hear parents say, don't look, and I guess
because that's real too.
That is real.
We don't want to stare.
Don't
we don't
stare.
want to be rude.
Right. So,
yeah.
But we don't also want to be yelling. Don't look at him.
It's from a good place, but it's not the right
maybe that's
thing.
what I'll ask you two. What can we
So
what can we do? How can we teach our kiddos?
in that context, I try to, because I know the parent, you're the parent, and you're like, oh my God, what
And
am
I am
doing? You're wanting to
mortified.
die.
the
You want to
sweating.
get,
I'm
you want to
mortified.
get out of
Yes.
there, right?
Well, I don't want to leave this a traumatic experience for your child either.
No, my child, he'll be fine. He won't care. He wants to play with your child, and he
Yes.
wants to just be included like a
Just a normal kid.
kiddo, right? Because my kiddo doesn't think he's any different than any other kiddo.
Oh,
No, that's not the same. I'm speaking in terms of his disability, but I want parents to ask. I want kids to ask questions. And I guess I like it when kids ask the questions because their questions are really genuine.
Yeah.
I will always get a parent saying, does he have autism? Because their neighbor's dog's niece's best friend had autism,
Well, did they get the vaccine?
Right. So I always get, does he have autism? I know someone with autism. And I just like to explain, because Angelman syndrome is pretty rare, I like to explain what it is, just offering more knowledge is power, right? So
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
that's cool.
I want to explain, I want kids to be like your child. I want them to win kindness awards.
Yeah.
And if we...
Yeah.
Right? So I think that if I can give a kiddo on a playground some knowledge about what it's like to just be kind to a kiddo that's a little bit different than them, that talks different, walks different, I think it's going to make kind kids. So I want to be part of
love
that.
Well,
But-
what a great way, because then you've taught children, and now they can go and teach their parents.
Yeah.
Like, that's that Lego analogy is amazing.
Well, I can't take credit.
Well, we gave him the credit, but you tell
You can. He's not
Yeah,
here. I'm not going to tell anything.
Okay, good.
That was
Anyway.
my topic.
Siblings, nothing. Dennis, we're good.
Siblings did it. Yeah,
It's really a full circle.
It really
really
is a
did.
full circle moment.
So-
I love that for us.
As opposed to what's wrong with him,
Mm-hmm.
is that the question that the kids are supposed to ask? I say supposed to ask.
That's
but-
a
I don't really care.
Huh.
I guess I just start to get cranky when it's the parents who say, what's wrong with him?
yeah.
I think that's when I get a little bit of a crank pot. And I make that sound. That's when I get
I can
cranky.
appreciate that.
I'm trying to think, because I've had some families, or I've had some adults. I'm just trying to think, like, how is that? How is
I've
it
just
brought
heard
up?
it.
Because
It
I've
was-
had people ask,
Yeah.
what's wrong with him? But I don't think that's what they said. Maybe
Yeah,
like,
I think
Does
if
he have
an adult
syndrome?
came up to me and said, like, oh, does he have ODD?
uh-huh.
That's different than what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
But if a kid came up and asked me, does he have ODD? I would be very confused. Like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did someone else
Yeah.
ask you to ask
Well,
that?
but then on the flip side of everything, I think that everyone is very sensitive. So like if you just act like
know.
everything's normal, I'm doing
Yep.
a very exaggerated quote unquote here. It's just like obviously things aren't quite, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I get that.
Like if that guy with only one arm and I'm just going to pretend like he has two arms, like
Everything's hunky dory.
everything's
and we go
totally
on with our life.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm not obviously going to be accosting one-armed men, but
Yeah, and that's kind of that's a hard question for me to answer because I learned about all of our children when we were at parent leadership, and so it wasn't ever well, what's different about him or
Yeah,
whatever
that's
the
true.
question
but
would
I
have
kinda
been.
like that.
It was this is my family, and you'll notice right here is my one of my middle children, and he has a disability, and this is what it is. So it was never an opportunity to ask because we all went around the room and
just
shared.
said,
That's
So
true.
I've never actually been in a situation where I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
I've never been in that situation.
Well, and I guess we ask parents that a lot just in our work, but we would say like, well,
I say, what's
your
his disability? Yeah.
So I don't know, is that more
But in the
or
wild,
PC to
if
say?
we were
Yeah,
out in the wild,
What do
I'm
you
at the
say?
park and
Okay.
asking, "What's your disability?"
If you're
There's
in the
no way.
wild, I think, again, this is a hot take. Feel what you feel, but I'm just going to say it. Treat it like it's one of those identity things. You know how you're always like, would you prefer to be referred to as they, them, or he, him, or she, her? And you don't really know how to ask. I think we just go with we don't ask.
Yeah.
But then if you see that the child needs help
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that, you could say like, what kind of supports does he need?
That's
How can I help you?
I love that.
Yeah.
Does he need, I'm noticing that he's like really slipping off. Is that just because he's working on learning that new skill, or does he need someone to assist him with that skill? And then that kind of like opens the door for some more conversation.
them
But
to
I don't
chat.
know, is it really ever appropriate to go up to someone and be like, what's wrong with him?
For me, mostly,
I
I
don't
was
know if I
thinking
like
about my
that.
7-year-old who's trying to maneuver around.
Yeah. And
social.
again, a 7-year-old asked me anything.
Anything.
that.
I am
Anything.
an open book for kids. I don't know. And I guess
I do think that the intent is different when children are asking questions versus when adults
It's
are
not.
asking questions.
But then I've had the situation where the parent will whisper to a child and the child will come up to me and parrot back what the parent asked. So it comes from the
kidding.
kid instead of the adult. Yes, I've had that happen at a playground before.
interesting.
And I looked at her and I smiled and I said,
you can
if
tell
your mommy
mom.
wants to ask me a question, she can come over here and I'd love to talk to her.
Did the mom
'Cause-
come?
No. They left the park afterwards. They literally got up and left. I'm like, I'm not gonna play.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not gonna make your child the middleman, a
Yes.
courier, but I'm also not gonna be mean to your kid. I'm
Of
not
course,
gonna
no.
be like, even though I'm upset with how the mom handled it, I would never be like, you can tell your mom to come over here, or
Yeah.
rude to the kid. I was just like, that's a good question. If your mommy wants to come over and talk to me, because she pulled her daughter off the slide to come and talk to me.
Wow.
Yeah,
No.
and so the kid had no interest in being
Wasn't
over
a
there.
subtle situation.
No. So yeah, maybe that's an outlier and not
That
the
is.
best example, but
Oh.
it's all I'm working with people. Sorry.
I love it.
I just don't like it when adults try to sell me essential oils to cure my son.
Oh my God, that's happened.
Yes, that's happened to me too.
Absolutely. They'll
I
come,
kid you not.
but it's
Multiple times.
It's almost disrespectful how it's done
Oh, yeah.
because they start so genuine. And they ask all the right questions, and then they really make you feel like they really
Like they
care.
actually care.
And then all of a sudden they go, how about some frankincense?
Have you ever tried
And I'm like,
mirth?
come on. If you were going to pitch to me, that's fine. That's your job. I get it. I respect it. But don't do it
Don't make me
using my child.
Don't bring my child.
Like, I
Yeah.
guarantee you that lemon oil or whatever isn't going to make his behaviors decrease.
It's not growing a
Because I've
chromosome.
tried magnesium and you know what? You name it.
Oh, I would try it if I really thought it was going to help and offer him some support. That to me is like the ultimate. You don't care.
Yes,
you are
don't
just,
fake care.
That's it.
Don't
Thank
fake
you.
care.
It's the fake care. That's the ultimate worst experience ever. But when kiddos ask, I want to answer
Yeah.
every question
Nice.
All the time.
Well,
all the time.
All the time.
All
All
right.
the questions, all of the time. Thank you so much to everyone out there in podcast land for listening in. If you are in Idaho or planning on moving to Idaho and have any questions on systems or services for children with disabilities, please reach out to us on our website at ipulidaho.org. That's IPUL Idaho.org, or by calling us at 208-342-5884. Until then, this has been Unlimited Parenting.
Thanks for listening.